This week's episode is sponsored by Change. Change is the #1 mentoring program that teaches you e-commerce from scratch. Change has a real community with real results. I have been working with Ryan for many years now and have attended many of his events and retreats across the world and got to meet members and the amazing community of like-minded people. Ryan works with a lot of big names in the business world, helping them build online businesses and e-commerce. Change offers personal one-on-one support, no experience needed, but like anything, this takes time and is not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you put the work in, you will get the results. E-commerce and online shopping is getting bigger and bigger. This is a great opportunity for anyone that is looking for financial freedom. For more information, go follow Ryan on Instagram at RyanJB, and he will guide you through the steps to help you get started and build a successful online business. You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on. And today's guest, we've got Adam Brooks. Adam, how are we?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Listen, thanks for coming on. We've actually been speaking a few years. I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm a big supporter of your work. You've been through a lot in your life. You lost your dad to murder. You've been stabbed a couple of times. You've been in the pub scene.
Yeah.
You're now working with GB News, speaking about a lot of things. Listen, like, people haven't got the balls to say, but they believe what you say, and they think what's right and should be done for the UK in a better place. You're very open about knife crime, which is it's so important, man, especially what you've went through. Like, you're very, everything that you do through the box, and you're always promoting it, putting the knives down. What's the slogan that you use?
Well, knives down is
Knives
what
down,
I say.
yeah.
Just hashtag knives down.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a message. You know, it's not going to achieve anything except for maybe getting in some of these young kids' minds. You know, why is he saying knives down? Maybe I shouldn't carry one. But,
yeah. Misfits as well. You've won, you've lost, you've won more than, but you're putting in the graft in your 40s, still looking great, still training every day, which is great to see. But we'll touch on all that. But first and foremost, I always like to go back to the start with my guests, get more of a bit of understanding about you, Adam, where you grew up, how it all began.
Well, look, my family originally is from the East End. You know, working parents, they were both publicans. We moved out for probably a safer life, and that didn't really work out too well for me, Dad. You know, he started off in a pub in West London. We're from East London, but he took a pub in West London, had a lot of trouble over there, and then moved out to Essex way for an easier life on an estate called Debden, which is part of Loughton. You know, a nice enough area. Yes, it was a council estate, but it was a nice enough area. And, you know, unfortunately, things happened, and I lost my dad at 11. Gang come in and murdered him one night, you know. So that stuck with me most of my life. It's not a day I don't think about it, really. But that shapes you. You have to get on. So my mum's brought me up, really, from the age of 11. So I was quite a soft kid. Don't matter what, you know, I don't try and portray that I'm anything now. I've just been through a lot of tough times, and tough times make tough people sometimes, you know. But yeah, I was a bit of a mummy's boy growing up. And I lost my head for many years over that. I always say, if that happened now and I was 11, I would have been sent to all sorts of doctors and psychotherapists, you know, had counselling and that. But back then you had to sort of counsel yourself. But everyone has tragedies and bad things go in their life, and that's mine.
Yeah, you had to become your own therapist, basically, that age.
Yeah, I mean, I was messed up for many years. I got in a lot of trouble in my teens going out. I would try and start on doorman and known faces in the area. I think I was on like a bit of a kamikaze run. I almost wanted something to happen to me like it happened to me dad. I used to have loads of people come up to me saying good stories about my dad. Oh, he was this, he was a gentleman. You know, he wasn't dodgy at all. My dad was a straight going man that could just look after himself. And unfortunately, the wrong people come in the pub one night and they come back and killed him.
Right, your dad was a boxer as well.
Yeah.
Fight for England and.
Look, he was. There's a famous club in London called Fitzroy Lodge Boxing Club. Like, yeah, it's about a century old. He was the captain of that in the 1960s. And back then, to be boxing for England, boxing for your country, you were the best of the best. Everyone was boxing. So that sort of says how good he was. Got to an ABA final. Could have gone pro, but he took a pub instead. There was more money in pubs than pro boxing back then. So I've always wanted to try and emulate him. I haven't got the talent my dad had, but I always wanted to do boxing. I was never allowed. So it's really took till I was 40 odd to get that sort of out of my system.
But you've done the exact same things of your dad.
Yeah.
Running the pubs, winning fights.
So I always said in my 20s, I said, I'm going to have a pub. And that was really to say we haven't gone anywhere, you know. We're not gangsters. We're not dodgy people. There's nothing I could do to, you know, get back at these people for taking my dad away. But we wanted to stand there and say we've not gone anywhere. And my way, my dream was to own a pub or a bar. And that's what I did. I opened one in 2006. And that become like the celeb hotspot of Essex, really.
How was it opening a pub though? Was it ever a fear that something could have happened to your dad?
Yeah, look, it was, I was 25, 26 when I opened a new bar, and I went from a boy to a man pretty quickly. You know, it was my area. It's a suburb of London, but you had every gangster and their son and their family in that area that have moved out, serious people. And then, because I'd have all the footballers in, all the girls would come, and I would have people, dangerous people from all over London coming in. So, you know, I had to grow up pretty quickly. I was educated. I was put in my place many times. But when I didn't have kids, you know, you're quite fearless. So maybe I look back at situations that I was in back then and think, what was you doing? Those people could have killed you, you know? And many times I had some really dangerous situations. Good times, but some scary times as well.
Because you're still in the pub game, aren't you?
Yeah. Still
Just
in it.
born and bred. Did seeing your dad do all that kind of made you who you are? Do you think, like seeing how he operated, because you've got to be a people pleaser. My old boy was a bouncer in Victoria's, it was called, most popular nightclub probably in Scotland at the time. And when he passed, it's always your dad was a good guy, he was a gentleman, but I was a fucking loose cannon. I never got that. I would hope people can say things about that me now, but back then, like you say, you try and be like your dad, because even though they're not here, it's sad because even when you achieve good things, it makes me sad that he's not here to share them with him, because that's what he would have wanted to have seen. So sometimes when good things happen, I don't enjoy it because he's the first person that pops into my mind.
Look, your dad is your first hero, well, for most people that have got good dads, you know. And even though I only had 11 years with him, again, there's not a day that don't go by when I don't think of him, or I do something I think, would my dad approve of that? So yeah, I went into the pubs, I've done the boxing thing, and that is sort of a box ticked. And hopefully if there is an afterlife or whatever, I'm not really sure what I believe. I'm not religious, but sometimes you think if they're looking down, I hope that makes you happy. But you're right, 45 years old, so 34 years on, and I still, when I had my boxing fight against Bash, a charity fight a couple of years ago, I did it for a girl that had passed away of cancer as well. But the emotion, it was at York Hall when my dad had fought. So the emotion, I cried my eyes out afterwards, and it all sort of come out. And I think that was decades of things that needed to come out that night. And I've been a different person since, you know, it was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. So maybe that was the therapy I needed, you know.
Release.
It's
like becoming a man, and I don't think there's like an age where you become a man. I think it's when you really face your fears and overcome some mental barriers, but to have that courage and probably seeing your dad as a boxer and what you had to go through to then having that release, like, okay, I'm achieving something, I've done something proud, that I've overcome fears where my dad would be proud of this. Like, that emotion is a beautiful thing, and you can never get that back.
No.
You can never experience that again when you hit that release and then you feel good, but it's like a new chapter comes.
That's
where you
it.
think,
I feel like the last 2 years I've been different in my mind, you know, more my own person now. You sort of shut them demons away.
yeah.
But look, most people in life will have tragedy or will have sadness. So it's not something you can go, oh, life's unfair. That happened to me. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. And there's nothing you can do to change it, you know.
But you've done amazing, man. What about the Essex scene? Because TOWIE and that, TOWIE was so popular back then. Tommy Mallet, who I'm good friends with,
Yeah.
Big Lockie, who I'm good friends with. But they boys loved
You
to
got to
party
remember,
back in the day.
I've seen them all grow
Yeah.
up, you know. So
Just babies when it came out, wasn't
Tommy
it?
Mallet is my real good friend.
Yeah.
Real good friend. And funny enough, I put him forward for TOWIE. I got him on there. And, you know, as soon as I put him in front of them, he sold himself. So it wasn't really of my doing. I just introduced him and I just said, you've got to get this kid on. He's something different. You got all these sort of softy Essex boys. This kid's real and he's raw. And I think that's why the audience love him. But the TOWIE scene was amazing. I used to get coaches pull up outside the bar and they would go like, they'd all come up and go, who's in there? And like, you might have Joey Essex in there that night or Mark Wright. And they couldn't believe that all the locals, we didn't care, you know, they were just normal people to us. But I did all right out of TOWIE without going on it. And they asked me the first 6 or 7 series. I had no interest of being on the telly, funny enough.
Not even for a business side of things?
No, because I didn't need to. I wanted to promote the bar and it was shown on there. But I've never had any interest in being famous, really. And it's only the last few years I'm not famous, but that I'm on the camera.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I'm now like,
well,
because we don't give ourselves enough credit because it's kind of cringe in it, but your fucking videos are hitting millions and millions every
it's
month.
Mad. So if I get started, I was out with my little daughter. She's 11, and we was eating lunch outside a cafe, and 2 elderly people come up and started speaking to me and saying they watched me the night before on the program, and my daughter was like, "This is mad," and it's not something that I craved at all. But when people come up to you and they speak nicely, like, "Oh, thank you for saying that," or "Oh, I love watching you on a Wednesday. We sit in, me and my wife, and watch you." That it almost makes it worth it, you know. It's still very hard to get my head around that people know me from that. So
yeah, Tommy's a great guy. I love Tommy. And he's not even from Essex, Tommy.
No, from Islington.
But what they done in that first kind of few seasons, like Mark Wright and Sam Fairs and Joey Essex, like they genuinely became stars. Obviously, then the views dwindle, but some of the kids do well from it. But I used to watch it back in the day. My missus used to watch it. I used to pretend, get this fucking shite off. But before you know it, you're involved in all the drama and you like watching it. And it's, yeah, but fair play to them for anybody because they took a lot of grief back then as
when
well.
When it first come on, I thought, oh no, what are these people doing? They're killing themselves. Yeah. So many of them have become millionaires, multi-millionaires from it. It's a great platform. And I half look back now and think, should I maybe have gone on them first 6 series? But it weren't for me then, weren't the right time. And I wouldn't, like, bless him, Mick Norcross, he's not with us anymore. He sort of held himself as a respectable man on that show. But I think anyone older than the 20-somethings that were on there was a bit muggy, really, you know?
Yeah, he was a big smooth operator as well.
Nice man he was.
Yeah. I know his son, who's another very nice guy, man. Great guy. He's always messaging, just checking in and stuff. Like, it must be difficult for what he went through and what he's seen.
Yeah, I don't really know Kurt that much. I've met him a few times, but me and Mick were rivals, really, because they had the Sugar Hut and I had the New Bar, and like sometimes we'd have a couple of phone calls saying, why are you doing that when I'm doing that? You know, we were a little bit rivals, but he was a gentleman. There was no way I was ever going to disrespect him. He was a nice man, really nice man.
And he just seemed a big cool cunt as well, just like smooth and the beard, and he just looked a big cool
He had
guy.
everything, really.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
God rest him, man. But so after all that then, what was life like then? We just pub scene, just working hard, family man.
I sold the New Bar in 2012 to someone, funny enough, that thought they was getting on TOWIE. I had a bit of a touch, really, getting out of the business at the time. The area was getting very rough as well. We had gangs coming from London and that, and it was the worst I'd ever seen it for trouble. So I was pleased to be out. I had like a year out or so, helped a few mates with their businesses, and then, you know, I missed it. I took the pub. My mum works for me. It's like a little backstreet pub, which I've still got. So I've had that from 2013 now. And then really, GB News sort of didn't happen until sort of 3 years ago. Dan Wotton put me on. My social media blew up during Brexit, during COVID, because I'm not afraid to say what I say. And what we were saying earlier, a lot of people that maybe said, Ad, do you think you should be saying that? And I go, why not? And they go, well, we think it, but should you be saying that? Now those same people are saying, keep saying it. So it shifted massively, social media and people's voices and opinions in this country. So look, I'm just pleased I'm able to get a message out there. I've been ranting for 10 years about these subjects. Immigration, certain things. I have been ranting and labelled every name under the sun. But now I say it in a way, I'm never racist, I'm never homophobic, I'm never offensive. I take it to the line which is right, I think, that gets my message across without overstepping that line. And now, thankfully, GB News took me on. Dan Wotton put me on, and it was meant to be one show. He said, do you want to come on? And I went, look, again, TV's not for me. I left the studio that night. I asked my wife what she thought. She's very honest, my wife. If I was bad, she would have said straight away. She said, I really enjoyed it. It was good to come across well. And Dan offered me a regular thing. And obviously Dan's not on there no more. He's still a friend of mine, but I've been on GB News about 3.5 years now.
Yeah, I like Dan. But you've come into your own, I would say, personally, for the last 2 years. You've really made a stand, made a mark, and not back down, which I fucking love. Like I say, I'm a massive supporter of what you do because it's ballsy. And like I say, I'm not, and every time I see these conversations, I need to say I'm not racist, I'm not homophobic, but I'm a father. I love my fucking kids.
Yeah.
I don't want all this paedophile and drag queens at my kids' schools. The immigration is an invasion of the fucking UK. It's an invasion. Is my kids safer? Like, I go on holiday, I've got a passport, I spend money, I'm not hiding anything. If I do a crime, I'll get the jail. These people are coming over here, no papers, no passports. Some of them have severe criminal records and putting everybody in jeopardy. Look what's happening in Ireland. Look what's happening all around the UK. Like, it is bad, but people are in a position where you're called racist, so everybody just goes back in their shell. But you don't have to be. You can make a stand and be a concerned parent. Like, what do you think really needs to change to make the UK strong again?
Again, I've looked back at tweets from 10 years ago about illegal immigration. And again, normal people calling me racist on there and bigger and whatever, it's not a problem. Well, it is a problem. It was a problem then. 10 years later, it looks like we've got about maybe 1.2 million illegal immigrants in this country. How can we sustain that? Again, all these people coming across on the boats, we can't check their histories, James. We have no idea what they've done in the past. If they've come from Eritrea, we can't ring up the Eritrean government and go, oh, what are these about? We have no idea. And some of these people, some of these countries are so violent, and these people are so desensitized from violence. They might not even have a criminal record, but they might be going down the road and there might be a head on the side of the road. Now, those sort of people, when they get to the environment of London or whatever, they're dangerous people because nothing scares them. And then we go to the cultural differences where many people see young girls as fair game. And as again, you've got kids, I've got 2 daughters. I want to know who's being put in the hotels near me. We've got one 5 minutes from me in Epping. They walk up and down the road. Firstly, they've all got designer gear on, phones and whatever, because this government and charities give them everything. But, we've had kids followed from playgrounds. We've had wives and girlfriends that have been followed down the road. They're being dirty with them and all like that. It's dangerous. And how dare anyone say for us to be worried that we're racist? I don't care if they're white, black or brown. This country was built with a good immigration policy. Up until a few years ago, immigrants really positively changed this country. Many of colour as well. We need them for the NHS and for many jobs. But not people that we don't know, not people that are just going to come over here. They're never going to work, these people. Half of them can't speak English. They've been told how to play our system. So as soon as they get here, they play the card, whether they play the gay card, they're not gay. It's against their religion a lot of the time, but they get that, or they go to a church and an idiot priest signs it off that they're now Christian. And they're going to get benefits for the rest of their life. Once they're here 5 years, 4 or 5 family members come over. So that's something I said on the telly the other day. Over the last 5 years, the people that have come here, suddenly most of them are going to get leave to remain. As soon as they get that, another 4 or 5 of their family members are going to come over. So all the numbers that we're told, multiply it by a good few. I think it's past help now. I don't think we can change it. Unless we basically pulled up the drawbridge and said no more immigration until we sort ourselves out, and unless we deported hundreds of thousands, unless we made it so hard for them to stay, right, no benefits, and they went of their own free will, this country's bang in trouble in the next 5 years.
Yeah, stopping the benefits stops the boats.
Yeah.
Because it's free healthcare, it's free housing, free money. Why would you not come here? And they're coming team-handed. Like, it is scary, and like you say, I believe that the number could be pushing 1.52 million. I think it's a lot bigger than what it is.
I blame the system.
Yeah, I don't think they're telling us the full figure.
Yeah.
I think things will need to change because of the uproar. Like, people have had enough.
Why has it took this long for MPs to suddenly realise how angry we are? The reason is because people like me were demonised. I was told by many, even in politics, you're too extreme for us. You find something extreme that I've said. You won't find. I'm not extreme. I'm the bloke down the pub. I'm the bloke down the local, whatever, high road that is just saying what we're all thinking, but we can't get that message out. But the way that this country has gone, the left and the wokeists have basically infiltrated the police, all the institutions, the councils, all the corporate world. So people that say are in banking, I've got mates that are in banking. If they even liked anything that I've said, they could be sacked. And that's the ridiculous route that this country has gone down. But I think it is changing. The tide has turned, and now people are catching up to think, actually, Adam's not extreme. He's just saying what everyone else thinks,
What about the grooming gangs?
Disgusting.
Why is there so much cover up all around the UK?
I'll tell you why Labour don't want to do an inquiry. It's because the party as a whole is implicated, from councils to members to, I think it goes all the way up to the top many years ago. If you don't want to point fingers, you can say that they didn't want to seem racist. And that was really the messaging back then. I'll leave that, otherwise we could be demonized as scaremongering against the whole community. But unfortunately, a lot of that community covered up as well as the officials. And then poor girls, this chat that there could be tens of thousands of victims, and it's still going on now. And people are scared to say because, they're labelled as racist.
Yeah, Sammy Woodhouse is an absolute thoroughbred now, man. She's fucking doing some power work. She's, like I say, people need to understand the depths and how low it goes. Like you say, we all say it goes from the bottom to the top. This isn't just people who are running the local kebab shops or whatever and grooming young girls. This is people who are judges, politicians. They're all working with each other.
They've arrested police officers from the time as well.
Yeah, for corruption and abuse.
It's hard to think as a father that you couldn't do anything about that. Can you imagine? No disrespect. I would do anything to protect my girls.
Same.
And I mean anything. And I'll be careful what I say. But I would do anything to protect my kids.
It just puzzles me, though, that there's so much information and evidence now pointing to the cover-ups, and people are still in denial.
I know.
People calling you racist. You're not a racist. The facts and figures are there. The majority of rapes and paedophiles in the UK are white, but the UK is predominantly a white.
Of course.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
and
it's always
that's the argument that the
yeah.
left will try and throw back at you. They call it, it's like, what about her? Oh, yeah, what about the white ones? Well, I want the white ones striped, hung up as well. I don't want anyone to do that in this country. But in a certain community, it's been disproportionate. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. So many from that community were implicated in that, and they were allowed to do so for decades. Sammy's fantastic. You got Rupert Lowe that's also doing an inquiry now. I hope that the pressure means that Labour have got to fold, but why are they going to investigate something that could, I think it could take down the Labour Party.
It could take down all the fucking parties. You don't know who's actually involved, and that's why the massive cover-up, because if you start digging, the bigger names will get exposed.
Of course.
So they need to then deflect, they need to then target.
It's a horrible world we live in, where not just the grooming gangs, I think in UK politics, American politics, world politics, there's so many predators with kids. It's almost demonic, you know what I mean? Like, it's just evil. And until we move away from that, Epstein, why are we not seeing, you telling me we can't see who was involved in that?
List.
Of course they know. That could shut everything down.
Yeah,
But is that the reason they're not doing it?
Yeah, we've got the Clintons, you've got fucking Bill Gates, you've got so many power couples, so many power names on that list. Again, it's all the cover-up. You look at the P. Diddy scandal, apparently the videos in every room, just putting people in compromised positions to hold one over on someone, to then blackmail, to then bribe. And Epstein done it at a higher level. P. Diddy looks as if he'd done it with the celebrities to have some leverage. Listen, you cut out a line here, I've got this video, do you want that going out? Epstein seemed to have had your Prince Andrews, your Clintons. He seemed to have bowled with them all. So,
you know, Bill Gates' wife actually cited that, didn't she? I think in an interview as one of the reasons why they went apart. She couldn't understand why he was friends with Epstein. I mean, people with money, what happens to them?
look at Jimmy Savile though. How the fuck is he cutting about with royalties and giving King Charles information and guidance? It doesn't make sense.
That's the BBC, and I mean, I've been quite public on, I doubt I'll ever get a show on the BBC, but, you know, they've had Jimmy Savile, Hugh Edwards, and at the time I remember having to be so careful what I said about Hugh Edwards, because now you're on the telly and doing bits like this, I don't want to get sued. I don't want to lose my house. But look, at the end of the day, he was guilty in the end, Hugh Edwards, and what a disgrace the way that BBC carried on paying him. And the pension that he's going to get from our licence fees is obscene. How's he not in prison? Hugh Edwards had kids, young kids as young as 9 on his phone, and he's avoided jail. Yet you can write something on the internet like Lucy Connolly, a mother, 41-year-old mother, made a mistake, and it was a bad tweet, and she's in prison for 3.5 years.
Hugh Edwards was investigated over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So he was. Again, the BBC cover-up. And there's a massive name coming out when he's dead, which is going to shock the world. I can't believe it, bro. I'm not saying it, man.
Yeah, I don't want to get sued either. Don't say it.
But I'm gutted about it.
Yeah.
Because that was my favourite show. I fucking loved that show. And the sad thing is, I still watch it.
Same.
And I think, nah, surely not. I don't want
I'm hoping that maybe that's a conspiracy that was wrong.
Yeah.
But let's see.
No, but there's so much information on what actually happened in his house and other stuff. It doesn't add up. And apparently it can only come out when he's dead. And
look, I think there's one way that we stop paedophilia, or we curtail it somehow, and that is the death penalty. And I think if you asked most people in the pub or in the high road or shopping centres, death penalty for paedophiles, I bet it'd be 90% they'll go, yeah, you know, proper proven evidence, they've done it, hang them.
yeah, I'm all for that. Definitely.
Because for me, there's no coming back from that. I watch these paedophiles, I'm obsessed with them now. My wife goes to bed, I watch these paedophile stings, yeah. And I love seeing how upset they get. I love it. They're broken. Good.
And some of them are family men.
I know.
With kids. Who did I interview? I interviewed someone, but they were exposing like child trafficking and paedophile rings. But what they're doing is they're using their own kids, and putting them on the dark web and selling. People are on live telling them what to do to the kids. A father. What about the gay couple, the American guys who are abusing the kids that they adopted and then renting them out to other people? Like,
I can't get in the head of someone that thinks that's right.
Yeah,
they don't deserve to live.
Yeah, they're sick.
And you know, maybe the only extreme things maybe I have ever said online is what I would like to do to some of them.
Yeah, fucking.
But I think most men would.
Bullet in the Head interviewed a kid who was a biker in Australia. He's actually trying to fight on misfits. But they used to terrorise the paedophiles. They used to get them to dig their own graves. They used to give them the fear, never kill them,
Yeah.
but give them their own fear, and hopefully they would stop. But they didn't stop.
Well,
So that
imagine the fear that the kids
yeah,
have.
it's a life sentence. It's a life sentence.
Monsters.
My concern is it's getting worse. I don't know if social media plays a part in that, because there's so much information out there. And when I spoke to the police officer who exposed it all, it was actually a copper that told me about the guy who was working with people in Africa, and they were on the dark web. But because there's so much information out there, people might go on. Some of them, when they get caught, they're saying, "Oh, it's the first time I've looked."
Yeah.
And remember, these are only the people who get caught. How many times have they done it beforehand? How many other kids have been victims?
Look, I've been watching some paedophile stings recently, and a lot of them have just arrived here in this country. Within weeks and days, they're messaging 13, 14-year-old girls. Now, how do they know to do that? There's people here telling them how to do that. Firstly, how are they affording these phones, that, in the first place? But how many times then they go, "Oh, we didn't know it was wrong," basically trying to get out of it. But I bet they don't get put in prison. So we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of these new arrivals that think it's okay to go or message young girls. It's only going to get worse, James.
But they're not even getting sent home.
No.
They're not even getting fucking...
Because what they do, we've got lawyers in this country or charities that fight on their behalf. Oh, if they go back, they'll be persecuted. Who cares?
Good.
There's one today, a Somali, knife in Somali. They can't deport him because he might be persecuted back in Somalia. How is that the taxpayers, how is that our responsibility to keep him and pay for him for the rest of his life here? What is he bringing to this country? These people, they're just a drain. And again, I don't care if they're white, black or brown. You might get some from Romania or Albania. They can go too. They're not bringing anything to this country apart from crime and taking benefits.
Yeah, as long as if you're bringing a service, if you're willing to educate yourself, if you're willing to learn the language, if you're willing to give back and put into the community wherever you are, by all means, you're welcome. Like you say, like back in the day when we grew up, it was the corner shops and it was Indian men or the Pakistani men. They were all sound. They were just working hard up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Never caused any hassle. Weren't fucking abusing kids. You knew their family. You knew their wife. You knew their own kids, probably at our schools. Everything was sweet.
And that's helped shape Britain
to
what it is. And I think, you'd have to be a real racist to say, "Oh, we shouldn't have ever had immigration." It's always say, I've got black friends, I've got brown skin friends, Muslim friends. Everyone can be what they want as long as they don't affect our life in a negative way. And these people coming across on these boats are really affecting our life in a negative way. And they're costing us a lot of money as well.
I love Dubai. Travel there frequently. Muslim city, no crime, basically no crime. Why? Because the laws are strict.
Yeah.
You come here in the UK, they can do what the fuck they want and they get a slap in the wrist. So it tells you that the system here is fucked. You need stricter laws for who's coming to fuck about. Even the UK is, I'm not religious myself, but it's a Christian country, it's a Christian nation. But we've got mosques in every town and we've got people preaching other stuff. It's bringing confusion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I know plenty of Muslims. I fucking love them. And when I'm in Dubai, I hang around with them. It's not a case of every Muslim's bad, because Dubai's living proof that it still can be safe. It's still good people.
We've got to protect our heritage and our culture. And in Dubai, there's only a handful of churches, by the way. Go Saudi Arabia, they don't allow churches. Why? Because they want to protect their own culture. So if you go there, you understand that. These people that come here, they want to change this country the way they want it. And that's wrong. And, we've got pubs now being shut down, turned into mosques. Look, I've got nothing against mosques being put in towns and cities. But there's one town I think in the north, where they've already got 3 mosques and they want another 2. Why? I don't understand that. Surely the council can say, right, we've got 3 mosques, that serves the community, fantastic, but there's got to be a curb. There's got to be a curb. I'm not religious, so I don't understand religion. Even, I've never read the Bible. I don't understand the Jewish faith or whatever. But again, I respect everyone's right to have those beliefs and practice.
Same as the governments and that. Everybody should be from the UK who's in the UK government. When you go to other places, you'll never see, if you went to Pakistan or if you went to Dubai, you're never going to see a Christian man.
No.
And as a mayor or as president or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like everything. But why would why would people let it happen? And is there a bigger agenda behind it? Or is people just thinking everybody's equal? I don't understand how
I think there's agendas behind many pushes, and I don't think our politicians are completely in control of this country. We've already seen it when Boris maybe tried to do a few things. He was slapped down, and I think that was from above. There's some very powerful people above our politicians. Don't know who they are, but these parties are governed by higher people. And now it's the institutions. When Liz Truss tried to do her budget, which she's slated for, she's never going to get over that. Fundamentally, she was right on so many things. We had to grow our way out and that. But what, Rishi Sunak, his mates in the city, are you telling me that he didn't make a couple of calls and say, sell the bonds off, make it look bad? Or people above manipulate markets to get her out? And as soon as interest rates and the bond rates started going up, she was forced out. We can't have a country that collapses because of policy. So a prime minister is never in real control of this country anymore. The markets dictate organizations, head of police, head of banking. It's very easy to make it hard for a government to govern.
But surely with over 10,000 millionaires leaving the UK over the last 18 months, surely that's a telltale sign that something's not right.
Would have miscalculated all their sums, Labour. That's going to cost a hell of a lot driving these people away. And I'll be honest with you, if I could afford to live in Dubai or maybe Spain with 3 kids and earn a good living, I would be gone, because I'm scared what this country's become. I might come back when it's sorted itself out, but at the moment, bringing 3 kids up, it's like warfare on the streets of London. I was up here yesterday all day, and some of the things I see in Oxford Circus, Oxford Street, I wrote a piece on it because it shocked me. You get on the trains, graffiti everywhere. It's like 1980s Detroit. It was never like that. It's only the last 5 years I feel like society is breaking down, and the next generations have lost all respect, and I think the authorities have lost control. The crime, this knife crime thing, I've got a petition out at the moment with a former police officer for mandatory 5-year sentences. If you're caught with a machete, big knife, you go straight to prison for 5 years. No liberal judge can give you a suspended sentence like what's happening.
Yeah.
I tell people to go and Google suspended sentences, machetes, UK. Pages and pages of people that have waved machetes at bus drivers, shopkeepers, or people on the street. Suspended sentences. They're dangerous people. You take a machete out in your high road, you've got something a little bit wrong in your brain, or you are a danger to society. Why are the judges not thinking that? As you say about Dubai, if I went to Dubai, the first thing I would say to my teenage son is, you don't do this, 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 or this. I can't help you if you break the law here. That's how it should be here. I don't think it should be as extreme, the laws, but bigger deterrence.
If it's cleaner, if it's safer,
people
are moving there, then they're doing something right. And that's why it's nothing to do with religion.
No.
It's nothing to do with, he believes in a religion, he's doing bad things. People are just bad.
Yeah.
They're using that religion to then promote whatever. And I think that causes unrest. I think that's where the divide comes in. Every Muslim I know is good. Every Muslim that's in my life are good.
I'll echo that. Every Muslim I know, good people, like through Misfits.
Yeah.
Some of the trainers there, they're my friends.
Ty Mitchell's a good friend of mine, Muslim.
They're my friends, and I respect them having faith. But what happens is you have extremists on all sides, and then you get extremist imams or these preachers online saying Sharia law is going to take over the UK, and that goes like wildfire on social media. And then people wrongly tarnish the good, moderate, respectful Muslims with that. They don't want Sharia law in this country. Many of these people enjoy the freedoms of the West as well. They don't want that. But it's the extremists always seem to have the loudest voices.
But the media can hype it up as well. Like if a white kid kills someone, they don't say, he's the Christian man or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Religion gets brought into it if it's someone from Pakistan or whatever. And causes unrest.
But look what happened with Southport. I mean, that was nearly a year ago now. I was on holiday and I was around the pool in Mallorca with people from that area. And so we was hearing some of the horrors coming from friends of friends. And I said this the other day. I was putting tweets out and then cancelling them, thinking if I say that, that's maybe a bit too strong. And people got arrested for it.
I got to jail. I got took in questioned.
Did you? Yeah.
I posted a photo of him, says off of his head. They took me into the cop shop and says I was so close, because it got like 60,000 retweets. It said it was so close to getting done for inciting violence, but people were getting sentences there. It says you could have got 2 years. I had to fucking delete it. Also, I've took this step back a bit and thought, man, this is fucking dangerous.
Right. So, yeah, look, when you hear about, and this is graphic to say again as a father of kids, when you hear about young girls having their throats slit, suddenly you can imagine your own kid. You can imagine them screaming. You can imagine what's going on there, and that monster. To not say what you really want to say online was hard, but I pulled myself back. I didn't speculate of who he was. I didn't do any of that. Others did, and they got in trouble, or they got exposed, let's say. But I didn't do any of that. But I was still on the way back from Mallorca because people were getting arrested. I said to my wife, look, if I haven't texted you after I've landed or gone through passport control in the next hour, I've been took in. And I thought that was a serious risk. Just because of the heightened tensions, you got all lefties. Anything I was saying about Southport, people tagging the Met, tagging Essex Police. What are these sort of people like online? Like, they would love for people like me and you to get arrested for this sort of stuff. But I pulled back saying a lot of what I wanted to say, and thank God I did, you know?
Look at the photo they released. A choir boy who was in Doctor Who. What the fuck would they do that for? But yet, look what happened in Liverpool.
Yeah.
The guy's image was released in fucking minutes and hours.
He was lying, Keir Starmer, when he said you could prejudice the case. They just didn't want the details out. They knew that he had ricin in his flat or his house within hours. Why didn't they tell us that? And as you said last week with the Liverpool thing, we knew he's a company director, we knew where he lived.
And he was white.
So why did that not prejudice a case? Why can we know everything about him and not about Axel Rudokana, or however you say his name? But I mean, that man that boy is an evil monster.
Yeah, a piece of shit.
And after what he's done in prison as well, that for me, I have said that. I've said it on TV and I said it online. He should face the death penalty. They should bring it back for people like that. What good is ever going to come from the taxpayer spending hundreds of thousands on keeping him in prison for the rest of his life? What positive is there? Is he ever going to be safe to be released? Of course not. Yeah, and paedophiles, are they ever rehabilitated? You fancy kids, you're always going to fancy kids. It's sick. And I think something needs to change. We need, again, we don't need to go as harsh as Dubai. Some of the sentences I see out there for Brits, and you think, oh, poor kid. I haven't even done anything that bad. Look, they should know it, but I think something in between us and Dubai now would be perfect. And that's not, I don't want authoritarian reign here. You know, Keir Starmer, for me, is an authoritarian leader. I want strict laws that everyone knows if you cross that line, that's what you get. But keep all our freedoms.
But it just shows you how fucked the West is. The
Massively.
kid get caught, I think one of them get caught with a gram of gear in Dubai. And he says, where did you get it? They've took his phone, messaged the guy who got it from to say he wanted more, picked the kid up, 40 years, caught with an ounce of coke.
If you're dead against drugs, that's the way to stop it, isn't it?
You couldn't do that here because it's so accessible and everybody's on it. The majority of people.
Course.
But that's why the UK is in such a mess. The girls are unhealthy, the boys are unfit, like everything's just backwards.
Yeah,
everyone's angry.
Everything now, and I'm sick and tired of picking up a paper, reading about these fat loss jabs and that they're miracle cures for cancer and this and that. Look, people are taking that to look good on holiday. That's disgusting. People really should only be on that if they are obese or if they're going to be, you know, they're at risk of heart failure or whatever. You have got people taking them, not knowing what it could do to them. And I think it was yesterday they're warning pregnant people, you know, don't get pregnant if you've been on that for a while. Well, that's a risk.
But this is people who are saying don't take the vaccine that are injected.
Yeah.
Is it Manjaro? Manjaro it's called. But it's bad for your bones, end up with bone disease or whatever.
But people can get that off the internet. Like, I ain't shaming no one in my area, but there are just girls that are thinking, right, I'm going Marbella, I'm going Mallorca in a few weeks, let's get on the jab. How has that been allowed to happen? But it's laziness. Humankind now is, everything's got to be easy. Take a pill to stop that, have an injection to get skinny. What about actually going to the gym or going for a run?
Yeah, and plus it's good for the mental health.
Yeah.
What about reform? What are you thinking?
Look, reform for me at the minute, they're going to be the next government unless something mad happens. Do I agree with everything about them? No, but you're never going to agree with everything that a party does. I want rid of Conservatives and I want rid of Labour, the Uni Party. They've let us down over the last 30, 40 years, and reform are a step to change. They're not going to be perfect at all. And people that think they will be perfect are deluded. I know the MPs, I know a lot of people within reform, they're good people. They're going to have good ideas. They will make change. They will stop immigration at the levels they are. But then, you know, they will let us down in other ways. But that's government. Government are not your friend. That's what people have got to remember. Politicians are not your friend. I know politicians that when I tackle them on why did you vote for that? Or why didn't you vote against that? And they go, I couldn't. I go, what do you mean you couldn't? The party told me I couldn't, otherwise I would lose my funding for this. Or, look, there's a black book on all MPs. There's a black book on misdemeanors and things they would not want in the press. Things that we've all probably done. That's why I wouldn't go into politics, because the left would have a field day with me. Maybe violence when I was 20 odd, or a misdemeanor that I've done. You don't want that out there with your kids. And a lot of MPs don't want some of these misdemeanors out. And so they will sell their soul, maybe back a policy that they wouldn't normally back. So I've had some strong words with politicians who've said one thing to me in private and then they voted the other way.
Do you think any of them are good?
There's a lot of good people.
I think they get with the clean heart.
Yeah.
But I think once they're in, the money comes in, it's like you say, it's like the P. Diddy stuff. We've got you in compromised positions. We've got this information ready to go. If you don't agree to this, like it's all blackmail, it's all corruption.
I will take people how I find them. I met Nigel 3 or 4 years ago, Nigel Farage. And whenever I've met him, he's come up to me, he's asked me about the pub, how's the business going? He's asked me about my family, my kids. And listen, I've dealt with the public for 20 odd years. I know when someone is genuinely asking you and are interested. And I get that with Nigel Farage. I think he's genuine in what he thinks. I'm not saying it could be steered the wrong way, but as I said, politics is a dirty business, and reform and Nigel Farage are never going to be perfect in anyone's eyes, because there's restraints. And as I said, I think there's higher powers above our politicians that will make them have to go back on certain things. But as a step to change, without reforming in the next election, this country is going to collapse.
What do you think of Pride Month?
I did a video the other day on my social media. Again, this sounds cliche.
We always have to back up gay friends, black friends, Muslim friends.
Well, it's funny that you went pride from politics. There's a lot of debauchery in politics. We've seen that. But pride, I respect everyone's sexuality. I've got many gay friends, colleagues that hate pride. And when I put a video out the other day, they all messaged me and said, bang on, we're embarrassed by it. Look, what I don't want to see is videos on the internet of middle-aged or elderly men in bondage gear with all their bits hanging out, grinding or twerking in front of young kids. That's not right in any way. How does that signalise or support being gay or part of the LGBT community? A lot of the gay people I know and work with are annoyed at the trans agenda, don't back it, think it's put their whole movement back 30 or 40 years. It's encouraged hate towards the LGBT community. And, you know, we've got men that put wigs, makeup on and think they can go in the same toilet as our wife and our daughters. Well,
nah.
I've been calling this out for 7 years and called every name under the sun. And funny enough, I found someone that would attack me for that, like online years ago, that is now saying the same thing themselves. So it was obvious to anyone with a brain, you do not let a man, whether he's still got his bits or not, in the same changing room as women. And how have we got male boxers against female boxers? The world has gone mad. And when people put clown world, don't they? I do it. I do say, what a clown world. It is a clown world.
Yeah, it's a
Because
joke.
how has anyone ever thought that was right? And the worst thing is, a lot of people didn't think it was right. But they were scared to speak up, like the grooming gangs, like many of our problems in this country. Oh, I better stay quiet with that. And that has led to people taking the piss.
Look at that box on the Olympics. It's just come out that he's got a pecker.
Right.
I stayed strong with that. Everybody folded because of the pressure from the media.
Yeah.
Then it showed them photos of him when he was dressed as a little girl, this and that. He was banned in 2022 from the World Championship because he's got XY chromosomes.
Yeah.
Whether he's got a fanny or a dick, doesn't matter. He's got XY chromosomes. But then it's just come out, he's got a pecker.
Yeah.
Like he was born male.
I'll tell you, I mean, I found a tweet from 2017 where I was saying trans competitors or people with genetic disorders like this are going to hurt someone. So again, I was attacked for that as a bigot. But one person who's fantastic with this whole trans thing is J.K. Rowling. She's changed the whole discussion. Sharon Davis, the ex-swimmer, she's brilliant. You've got so many loud voices on there that suddenly women think, well, hold on, they're saying it, I can say it. And now I think common sense is coming back. Many of the sports have stopped it and banned it. Who was the swimmer? Leah Thomas. I don't even like calling them by their female names, but I don't know his real name. Leah Thomas. He was like 6'5" giant.
Standing up to show his dick out.
And the funny thing is, when I used to put pictures like that up, I used to throw it on Twitter and log out for a couple of hours, and you used to see these lefty accounts or these middle-aged old men going, "There's nothing wrong with that. It's progression." Nah. I don't think they believe it themselves. You can't look at that and think, that's fair, because the science, if they want to go back to the science, they've got bigger lung capacity, men. I think it's denser bone. There is no way that a woman could beat a competitive man. And that's why some of these men, they're like 500th in the world, suddenly they're world champion in the women's thing. You just cheats.
Yeah, some of these runners and swimmers wouldn't even finish in the top 500 in the men's sport. Just that extra half a second moves them right down to number one in the women's.
I'm going to ask you something.
Yeah.
Because someone mentioned it the other day. Would you box Amani Khalif?
Yeah.
Do you think you'd do all right?
Yeah.
Do you? I don't know.
With the female one?
Yeah.
Well, he's a professional, he's a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't box, no, because he's a professional man.
I'd have a go, but I think I'd get beat.
No, we would get beat. We're amateurs. So, me fighting him, he would win because he's a professional.
Yeah.
He's trained all his life. He's a man. He's got XY chromosomes. He's a man. He's fit. He's strong. He looks like a man. He punches like a man.
Yeah.
He moves like a man. He's structure of a man.
It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh how people online, they go, but I would
fight him.
I would.
Yeah.
But go in with anyone, but they'd beat us.
Oh, yeah, of course, they're trained professionals. Yeah.
But people don't understand that. So it makes me laugh when I read men on social media sometimes are just deluded.
Yeah.
With boxing especially, because it looks easy.
But men think they can fight 4,000 times more than what they actually can. Now, you've been under the ropes fighting, I've done it, and it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
From my own experience, I've always said this, there's a nervousness so much, the fear of, you've got so many different fears that you don't face anywhere else. When you're in danger, the nervous system kicks in, but this is different.
You're thinking
Waiting
about
to
it
fight.
all day,
Weeks, months. What if I get beat? How's he training? Am I eating enough? Am I doing enough?
This?
Yeah, why am I doing this? I'm in my 40s. Like, it's a
yeah.
constant battle. But the sense of achievement, even when people hit the pads, they think, oh, he's good. Put them in a fight, they're shite.
Look, so I box in a great gym. It's called Dennis and Dyer in Debden, Loughton, where I'm from. And you see some of these 20-somethings, they go, oh, you can spar him tomorrow. And I look at them on the pads. I think, oh, no. They look unbelievable. On the bag, but I think, oh, I've got no chance. I spar them and I get the better of them.
Yeah.
It's different. It it's a science which I wish I was allowed to do when I was a
Younger.
kid. Because I think if I'd done it as a kid, I was allowed, I think I would have been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously now I'm trying to play catch up, and the old rhythm and the footwork is the hardest thing, getting out of the way.
Yeah.
Everyone can throw a punch. But I love boxing. Funny enough, you reminded me, I've got to text Mams and see if I can get another one.
It's so
It's just like, I don't do drugs, never have.
craft.
It's a drug. Though.
Yeah, but Misfits have went another level.
Yeah.
They've went another. It's not just that laughable having two men fight a man and girls OnlyFans just looking stupid. Now you've got fighters. Now you've got people.
Darren Till.
Dan Till, Ty Mitchell.
Yeah.
Ty Mitchell could be world champion. Potentially world champion. He's fucking boxed and sparred Tyson Fury's, Joshua's, and hold his own.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking top
Well,
bloke.
a lot of people want to mock Misfits, and I can see why. Like on the last one that I did against that Gavinio, the fight after, or was it before or after, was the two young kids, the social media stars they'd had so-called beef 6-7 years before, and it was like a bit of a cult thing. Well, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But Misfits don't try and be pro boxing. The viewing figures on that fight with them two like lunatics were huge, millions. So it proves there's a market, and then they get their credibility from people like Darren Till, Ty Mitchell and that. And then you've got people like me. Look, I'm not an influencer, but there are people out there that tuned in. I know because I had random taxi drivers go, I watched your fight. I don't normally watch all that, because there's some people that they're intrigued by it. And then there's a lot of people that probably thought, I'd love to see him get knocked out.
There's a lot of fuckers out there.
Yeah. But that is the thing about walking to the ring. My first one was a couple of years ago against Bash, and I picked Bash because he'd bit someone's ear off. Nutter. But he knows he's a nutter, but an absolute nutter. And as I was walking to the ring, my son walked with me. I went, boy, one's getting knocked out. If it's me, go and sit with mummy. So I had that in my head. I'm either knocking him out or I'm getting knocked out. Most men wouldn't do that. Most men wouldn't carry on walking.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's
It's
I
a
can't describe
buzz
it. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here now and I'm thinking, God, I've got to have another two at least.
Yeah, because I used to do Muay Thai in the grip house, but never fought. I loved the fact of the kicking the pads and the punching and the elbows, but when I done the boxing 4 or 5 years ago, I thought I was so buzzing for it. I was ready. I thought I'd overtrained, but looking back now, I'd undertrained. I never done fuck
You do
all.
know they tried to put me against you on that.
Yeah.
So for 3 or 4 days, I thought I was fighting you.
What weight would you?
It was what was the Showstar or something like that?
Oh.
The promotion. It went skint, didn't it?
Yeah, I never got paid.
Yeah, right. It went skint. So
I was going to do it twice.
I thought I was fighting you. So I was watching all the videos of your first fight. How mad's that? Now we're sat here.
Yeah, Rogan O'Connor, I thought. He was like a fucking bodybuilding champion. I was the underdog. But you're nervous. My coach says when he's under the lights, fucking keep him there, because I was last in. So I played 2 songs.
Right.
So I was dancing.
You come in with all your Scottish songs.
Yeah,
and all
Scottish, 3 parts, 7 minutes. And I fucking blew after a minute. I was fucked. Bro. And then now, obviously, when you start doing it, because I used to get scared sparring. Not scared, but you're wary. You're still doing it. And then I started to enjoy the taste of blood. Yeah. And then I started going,
I've got a black eye.
Yeah. And then you realise you ain't made of glass.
Yeah.
You realise, wait a minute, I can take a punch. You can actually take this and you don't really feel it as much. But like you say, I wanted to do boxing when I was 9, 10, 11. My dad never took me.
Right.
It was football. So I ended up giving everything to football, but I wish I would have went. I feel as if
I would have,
I would have been more dedicated, because I love the fitness and the comrades. Like it's like a brotherhood, because there's not many people do it. It's not like football, you've got 11 men on the pitch. It's only you, but the people you train with, the coaches, they're all switched on and they only seem to have your best interests.
I still say if I was taught boxing, I was going to a boxing club in my teens, I wouldn't have got up to half the things that I was doing. I think that would have been a therapy, and taught respect. I didn't have a dad really to tell me off and teach me that respect in them important years. So I got schooled by people a lot stronger and, more dangerous than me. I learnt my lessons through being told off and in terrible situations. Boxing for me, it should be taught in schools. It really should.
Discipline. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of wars and armies, but some sort of regiment, like going at 16 to 17 to just kind of learn to make your own bed.
Like a boot camp.
Yeah, just to learn fitness, learn strength, because there would be less crime, there would be less violence if people could fight. Because the reason why people are so angry and cause violence and cause mayhem is because they're living in fear. The majority of gangsters who I interview who've been stabbed or shot or bullied, abused when they're younger, then start doing that to other people, bullying and fighting, because why? They don't want to feel that again. So
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, so they'll just do it first to try and protect themselves.
Yeah.
And when you actually speak to people, the majority of people are good. They're fucking sound. But certain circumstances in life leads them down certain paths, and then people portray them as bad. So then they've got to live up to that reputation. When realistically, man, the people in the UK are sound. The thing about people in the UK, we see through bullshit. The majority, like, we're quite on it, where we see, nah, he's full of shit. So if you're going to be bad or do bad, people are going to see through it.
When you say that, I'm not saying your guests, but you know, when I look at some of these podcasts,
Yeah, no, I've had people waffle pure
and
shit.
let me tell you, I've been around people my whole life through the pubs. I've had nightclubs, and I listen to their stories, and they're coming on these podcasts a lot of the time to make themselves look really bad, naughty people.
Yeah.
And I think you're an idiot. You are an idiot.
Yeah.
Half of the people that go on these podcasts and say they've done this thing and that haven't done anything, you know. And
I can back that up, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I start off, because I know a fucking hell of a lot of people now.
Yeah.
Back then I was starting off, I was just kind of getting in. So I'm only taking it people at face value.
Of course.
So when I'm reading their book or they're telling me stuff, I think, yeah, you're proper. It's not until the podcast is out I'm getting the phone calls to say he's a fucking diddy him.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Like, I've had some proper men. Vic Dark, proper.
I know Vic. I
Um,
know Vic well.
Paul Ferris, proper.
But these are people
Paul
that
Doyle,
Yeah.
proper. Like, there's some proper bad men who you would
change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, and look, I respect a lot of the people that come out and speak about these things. Vic Dark, you know, he's a local fella to me. I know Vic well. He says a lot of the things he says to try and steer people away from going the same path or understand why he went that way. He's not trying to big himself up, you know, like some of these people are. I've done 3 or 4 podcasts now. The worst thing, what I would ever hate for someone to take away is that I think I'm a tough guy or that. I've been through shit in my life. I've been in situations where if I wrote it in a book, you wouldn't believe it. And from some of the most dangerous people you could ever imagine. But that's not big and that's not clever. If I could go back and change the way I was then, I would. But I'm not those people. I'm just a normal fella. I don't take shit and I run a tough pub. And if someone challenges me to a fight, I'm never going to back down. But I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a gangster. I would never want anyone to ever think that, you know. But you get a lot of these people that want people to think they're gangsters when they're not. I think it's embarrassing. Or what's worse, when I see in my area, kids that have got a hell of a lot of money because their parents are rich. They get a Ferrari or a top car and they act like a gangster and they start hanging around with gangsters. You're an idiot.
They end up getting used.
Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? If I had loads of money and I wouldn't want anyone around me that could take it off me, and there are people that want to take it off them.
Yeah.
Just brainless.
But it's difficult because everybody wants to be a bad man. We all watch the movies, we all watch them and think, yeah, that's the life that I want. Not realising it's a life of destruction. Not any bad man I know who's got a happy life.
No.
Broken down relationships, no relationship with their kids, in and out of prison, money's up and down, they still try and do bad things to keep the money, to try and live onto that reputation they had in their 20s and 30s. They're just getting older in their 40s, their 50s and 60s, and then before you know it, they end up becoming victims themselves to the up and coming. So there's nothing productive from that life.
The films maybe treat it like a sexy way to live. I didn't live that way, but because I had nightclubs and I was involved in that life, because gangsters try and get involved in that way. Like I used to have things under me bed. I would be worried, you know, going to sleep some nights where I'm going. Imagine living like that your whole life because that's the life you've chose.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you know, I hope if any youngsters are listening to this, I hope they don't go down that road.
Knife crime, you're very, like I say, very outspoken towards it because you've suffered it in your family lives and your own life. Why Why do you think it's so rife? In Glasgow, Glasgow used to be the murder capital of Europe.
Yeah.
If it was like knife capital, like it was so bad, but the 5-year lock him in. Caught with a lockback, caught with a blade, 5 years, boom,
Yeah.
you're
But
done.
that's what I'm trying. I'm trying
And
to
it
get
went from
petition,
number
yeah.
one to way down the list. I think New York as well was such a mess, and the New York mayor fucking changed everything. But it can be done with certain laws and certain
Can be done.
restrictions.
So again, I've got that petition I was talking about. Former copper has backed it with me. 5-year mandatory sentence for getting caught with a knife, 3 years for a juvenile. That will take a lot of normal kids off the street with knives. I mean, when I say normal kids, your gangsters and your gang members probably are not going to be deterred by that. But there are kids, my son's told me, there are normal, lovely kids that are carrying knives because they're scared that there's boys out there with knives. If you scare them with, right, you're going to prison for 3 years, not going to see your parents for 3 years, they're not taking that knife out. But society's broke down. Carrying a knife is become normal. And there's no deterrent, is there? If they know someone's been caught with a machete twice and they're getting a suspended sentence, it's worth them carrying that machete, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
But how do people get involved with your campaign? How do they
Well,
sign a
look,
petition?
I wasn't with a charity. Mine really knives down. Hashtag knives down. Whenever I've boxed or I put something out about knives, I'll put that out there. But I've just boxed actually on a charity show, Wicker's Charity. They do a lot of like rehabilitation. They take kids and put them through courses, work with youngsters, East London, London. And that's why I boxed for that. I raised nearly $5,000 for that charity because I feel like I'm actually doing something. But until we get a deterrent, till like Dubai, where you know if you break that law, you're banging it, nothing's going to change. Stop and search. They scaled that back because the mayor said it was racist. Well, look at London. I work with a black community as well. Many figures within boxing tell me to say these things on GB News. The majority of knife crime in London is black on black. Now, people think, oh, I can't say that. Why? Stats can't be racist. Now, if you're searching more black men than white men in London because of knife crime, you go to the people that are causing the problem. And the black community, like the leaders of the black community that I work with in boxing and whatever, say, I just keep saying it because we're sick and tired of black lives being lost. If you're against that, you're for black kids killing other black kids. I don't want any kids to die. So how can that be racist? If you highlight a problem, it's a problem. But I don't know how, without deterrence, I don't know how we stop it.
What do you think of Sadiq Khan?
I hate the man. You know why I hate is a very strong word.
Yeah.
I hate him because he knows exactly what he's doing. If you watch him in the Assembly, London Assembly, which is where he can be held to account, his arrogance and his rudeness to the women councillors, like members that are in there, is off the chart. I honestly believe, and it's my opinion, so I don't want to get sued for this, that he sits around his breakfast table in the morning and thinks, how can I wind these people up even more? That's the sort of energy that I get from him. Everything's racist. When I worked for a group called Together Declaration, we was against vaccinating kids during COVID, vaccine passports. We pushed back against all that. They also do things against ULEZ and these LTNs, the traffic systems. And there was a demonstration with Together Declaration outside the mayor's office, and he said the far right's outside. So it's a way of shutting you down. So if you're bothered about ULEZ, you're far right now. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it's to shut people down. Oh, we better not go and protest that anymore because we're going to get labelled far right.
What do you think of like 15-minute cities and try to squeeze everybody out of everything?
Yeah, but I think there was a plan for that, but I think the public have woken up, and maybe MPs and councillors that didn't understand the direction of travel are now understanding that people do not want all that. We don't want to be controlled and told where we can go. Remember, Sadiq Khan is the co-chair of C40 Cities with Michael Bloomberg in America. So they're like a network of mayors and a group that want less flights in 30 years. They want you to stop eating meat. Like proper climate extremists.
Yeah, facial recognition.
Yeah. So That's what we're dealing with
Electric cars.
as a London mayor. It's not just me disliking him or his attitude. He is actively part of a group that is pushing for our lives to be controlled. And what's going to happen in 20 years when they say you can only eat a bit of meat, you can only have 2 flights a year? The people with bundles of money go about their life as normal. People like me and you can't go on holiday, or the people that are not as fortunate as me and you, that are poor or struggling in life, they're never going to get a holiday again because flying will be so expensive. And this is where I think it's wrong. Like, you talk about the elites in the world want as much control as possible. And I think communism has weaned its way into a lot of institutions and a lot of politicians where they want to control and tax us. This net zero con, nothing we do in this country is ever going to affect the climate. But if you turn on a news program, they say, I'll get a heat pump and there won't be floods in 20 years. Or your grandkids won't be roasted by the sun, 50-degree heat. What? That's the biggest con ever, net zero.
What about them trying to dim the sun?
So in one aspect, we've got Ed Miliband putting solar panels all over our farmland, and then they're doing trials about dimming the sun. They haven't got the right to do that. That should have a vote, a referendum, and we should be told why they're doing that and given a choice. But this is the arrogance of some of these politicians that think, oh yeah, we'll try that. Dubai, they mess with the weather.
Cloud seeding.
Right? And we've seen the worst floods in decades out in Dubai. You telling me that's a coincidence? They might deny it, but it's we know what's happened here. They messed with the clouds and it messes the whole system up.
Yeah, there's hardly been any rain this year in Dubai. Because last year I was there, I think it was April or May, and there was cars fucking flooding down the
I
street.
remember seeing it on social media.
Crazy.
Listen.
And the floods in Spain, I don't know if it was Valencia or Barcelona, man, it was people were dying.
But if you mess with nature, it has a funny way of telling you not to do that down the line. Just leave it be. What happened when we was young? How old are you?
41.
Right, I'm 45. I remember
You
going
look great for 45, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I remember everything about the ozone layer. I remember being in my mum and dad's car thinking, oh no, we're all going to fry. Like the hysteria back then, the ozone layer. What happened to that? What, suddenly it went away? You're going to tell us because we used less deodorants or whatever that hole closed up? This is the new thing. The net zero is the new ozone layer. They couldn't get away with saying global warming because in certain parts of the world it was cooling. So they call it climate change. That's what they do. And then if you try and argue, go, well, that's not it. They've got both ways. They can go, oh no, it's cooled because of the global climate change. Oh, it's got warmer because of climate change. We cannot win that argument now. And thank God someone like Trump's come in that's got his own scientists that can prove nothing we do is ever going to change the climate. I think it's been changing since the dinosaurs. The climate has been changing rapidly. If Earth suddenly decides to heat up, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, but whatever the media promote, majority of humans gravitate to believe it.
Well, of course. So it's the current thing, isn't it? First off, it was COVID injections. Then you've got Ukraine. And then, you've got net zero now. Whatever the masses are told, they will believe it though.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a massive shift in the way people think now, and social media, people like yourselves putting different voices on the internet, GB News. Obviously GB News is restricted a little bit by Ofcom. So you can't always say what you probably want to say, but it's still a platform that gets a different viewpoint out. I go on there all the time and say net zero is a con. Now, where else? You're going to see that on the BBC, someone saying net zero is a con. Mm-hmm. No, never.
Why does BBC still exist?
I don't know.
Money, power?
Well, have you seen the head of BBC wants to put up the licence fee? Can you believe that?
I can't believe people are still paying it.
No, look, I personally think the BBC should be defunded, start again. And I think there are some good programmes on there. There are some worthwhile programmes, but just put adverts on there. Or fund it a different way. It's a racket, really, that I have to have a BBC licence. I don't watch BBC at home. But to watch GB News on my Sky, I've got to pay a TV licence fee, which goes to the BBC.
No way.
Yeah.
Why have they got
Well, the
rights?
license fee goes to the BBC. It funds the BBC. So it's basically a state propaganda channel because we have got no choice. And it's all right, people saying, oh, I haven't paid it for 2 years. Let me tell you, you're going to get a letter at some point and then you're going to have to fight it, whatever, which way. Look, I can afford it. I'll pay it. But it doesn't mean I agree with it. But my kids want to watch certain channels. I do that. Maybe that's me funding something I shouldn't be funding. But sometimes when you've got kids, you
still got to
certain
play the
things.
game.
Yeah,
And you say people in GB News, oh, but you still can't say this or whatever. You still got to play the game.
Look.
There's certain things I would love to say everything I want to say, but I would be cancelled instantly. I already lost my Facebook page because I shared Tommy Robinson podcast. Already shadow banned on Instagram. I've got family to feed. I'll go to the borderline as much as I can and maybe try and push it. Sometimes I'll get a warning. Okay, I'll step back. I'll not do that again. But I've got to play the game. There's all these people saying push this, push this. They don't have a platform because they've been cancelled.
Yeah, and look, I think I've never been told I can't say anything on GB News, and that is a promise. They've never said don't mention that. The only thing I can't talk about is an active court case. So they say if you speak about that, you're in contempt of court, which is the law.
Yeah.
That's not GB News saying. So for me, up until now, I've always said what I want to say. And it might mean that Patrick or Dan at some point has gone, look, we've just got to say that is Adam's view. That's not maybe the consensus or whatever, but I've got my view out. And that's then up to the viewers to make that decision. Is Adam right or is that right? But that's how it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah. But this is the society we're in. What do you think? Do you think it will change as a better place? I genuinely think there could be a revolution within the next 18 months, 2 years.
Things are going to have to get worse to get better.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me.
But I think we're coming to the top of it.
We are.
I think we're a couple of years to take more misery and then people's going to go right.
Well, this is like having this Labour Party is like us having Biden. America's like 4 years in front.
Mm-hmm.
So he's shaking things up. We've just got to hope that Donald Trump stays alive for the next sort of 3 years, because a lot of the things that he's changing now, when he withdrew the money, that USAID around the world, how many institutions in this country, in Europe, were being funded by America? Or silly things like, I don't know, tampons for Gaza, millions of pounds being signed off by people that obviously at the other end are going, send 500 grand back and you can keep that. You know, so he's unwinding a lot of the corruption and a lot of the wokeness in this world. And
hopefully, like Robert Kennedy, who I like, I just hope they make their promises and back it up where somebody's got to control it. Listen, there's got to be laws, there's got to be elements of control.
100%.
Everybody just can't be roaming free, because there would be chaos, there would be destruction. Like, there is good, there's boundaries, there's laws, but it needs to be fair for people to try and enjoy life.
And like even things like taxes, we know that taxes are wrong, but we know to live in a functioning society now and fund things, we've got to have taxes. But they're pulling our pants down now.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where I've got a pub. If they put the taxes up again in autumn, there's no point me being a publican. It's too tight. And I don't think Labour understand that. And I think they're going to keep putting the taxes up until your whole high road just collapses.
No, people are already paying 45. I don't mind paying taxes.
No.
If I know I'm living in a safe place, if I know the roads are getting done. My daughter was in private school, 20 grand a year, had to take her out. One of the fucking kids was identifying as a cat. This is a private school. What the fuck am I paying for? A private school identifying as a cat. They're coming in with a litter box and going through all the classes, and I'm thinking, fuck this.
The only time I've nearly been cancelled on GB News is, this was going back 2 or 3 years ago. Dan Wootton showed a video of, and I didn't know anything about this video, it was like a viral video of people dressed as dogs and howling. But like in like bondage gear, dog masks and all that, outside a place in Germany. So he said something about a dog joke. The other panelists said something about a bone. And I went, put them down. And they got 100, but I was joking. I don't want anyone killed. They're acting as dogs. Stupidly, I said, put them down. I didn't know it was a gay thing either. So they got 100 complaints about that. GB News, someone whipping it up. Pink News basically did an article on me that I'm racist. Not racist, homophobic. I didn't know it was a gay thing, right? Honestly, didn't it come out? But you're a weirdo. If you're dressing as a dog, acting as a dog,
Barking.
you're mentally ill. So it was a joke, you know? And I nearly got cancelled on that. They got so many complaints. But that was because online lefties all come together and go, let's get rid of him. That's our chance, you know? But what a mad world, a clown world, as I say.
Ah, like dressing as a dog. Listen, if it's Halloween, if you're going out for a fancy dress and having a bit of fun, or keeping it indoors, whatever you want to dress about, whatever you want
Exactly
to do,
that.
do
Do
the
what
fuck
you want in the bedroom.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, listen, you could wear dresses.
What about that naked psycho though?
That what?
The naked psycho, when you've got all these old fucking perverts. There was the man standing against the wall when kids were walking past and had a fucking semi. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I've seen it, and I've tweeted the pictures as well. What is the matter with people? But what is this obsession with getting your bits out? And again, look, there are beaches where you can go and do that, not near kids.
be a naturist or whatever, just
But
stay away
I
from
think that
people.
a lot of these people get off on it. They get off on kids seeing them.
But how many drag queens have we seen reading stories to kids who've then become
Well,
paedophiles or then been exposed? And not
yeah.
everybody, but why would you want to read stories to kids dressed as another
we
fucking
helped.
person?
One of the sections I did on GB News about 3 years ago helped shut down one of these drag shows in a pub in front of kids. And I had a massive row with a panelist on there, and I clicked it up and put it on TikTok. I'm not really a TikToker. I put my GB News, and it had 3 million views. And I just said, look, if you agree with a grown man in fishnet tights and whatever, gyrating in front of a kid, you need your hard drive checked. Well, this other panelist, she went absolutely bonkers at me. It was her friends or people she knew that organised the event. Tried to get me off the show, I believe. I might be wrong, but I faced backlash off of that. But a normal person, for me, should be against that. Why would a drag queen want to go into a school and read stories to kids?
What was the, I retweeted one, it was the thought police. Somebody was having a thought and the police went through their door, or 6 police showed up at their door. They were thinking about, I don't know what they were doing, but it was the thought police. You'd shared it and I retweeted it. It was like people were thinking about something.
There's something
but
every
the
day,
police
so I
went to their door, and then somebody who was in the school group chat, they were talking bad about the school, and the fucking police went to their door.
Yeah, I can't believe that I've never had a phone call from the police or I haven't been brought in. Not that, again, I'm not extreme, but just because all these lefties and these woke people tag the police with my tweets all the time, he's being hateful, he's doing that. I'm not. A lot of the time, I will put things online that I know will piss some of these people off.
Why do you think they're so hateful towards what people say, concerned family, parents, fathers? Like, what the fuck is the issue?
And this is, look, I will share, if you go on my Instagram, I shared a white paedophile the other day. If I see a story enough, it makes me angry enough, I'll clip it up and I'll put it up.
Yeah.
But if I put one up and that person's of colour or maybe of brown skin, I get people under in the comments, what about the white people? What about you're racist?
Yeah.
Like, it's what aboutery. Listen, there's bad people in all races.
You can't win.
Can't win. And I do share the white paedophile gangs if they're there. I do share that. But these lefties and these, it's like they can't deviate from their thinking. And that's what they hate me and you, because we're open to changing our mind. We're open to going different directions. And I don't know what it is. I think a lot of these lefties are mentally ill. And I use that a lot. We've got a mental illness crisis in this country. And I think that shows online.
If you were Prime Minister and you had 5 things to change the UK, what would you change?
Well, let's go. Immigration, I think, is the one that worries people a lot at the moment. I would stop the benefits, stop the hotels, stop the draw of them coming over here. I would then make it so that they would want to go home, cut the benefits off and whatever. I would cut immigration and basically see one in, one out. Or you've got to earn 60 grand a year to come to this country now. And you've got to prove that you're doing that for a certain amount of time or you go. Again, we touched on it earlier, paedophiles. I think the death penalty should come back for paedophiles. 5 things. Taxes a lot lower. I would also maybe hold politicians to account. If they lie, they lose their job. Knowingly lie. Lose their job. I would drug test politicians as well.
They would all fail.
But listen, these people are running our country, yet half of them are bang on it. I think they drug tested Parliament, didn't they, years ago, and they found high levels
on all the toilets
of cocaine in the toilets. Yeah.
I've no issues with people snorting gear, but if you've got the weekend off or whatever, it's bad. But if you're doing that in a place of work, when you're controlling the country,
Yeah.
high on drugs, did you see the video of fucking Macron and Starman? They look as if they've got a little spoon and a bit of gear. I don't know how true.
No, I think that I don't believe
Yeah, I
that.
don't really buy into it myself.
That
but
proves
they
how
did
much
look-
people hate them to want to spread that.
They did look wild,
Yeah.
and it looked suspicious. But why the fuck would there be a camera crew? But that's all weird. All this tranny stuff at the Olympics, which I've been mentioning still, because it still annoys me.
I know, there's
that
an agenda.
Yeah. Can you imagine one of our daughters? My daughter loves Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Boxing. Can you imagine her training her whole life, getting to the Olympics at 20, and then she's up against a guy with a set of fucking balls?
No, it's
It's
there's a
crazy.
sinister agenda with this transgender thing. There's a lot of rumours about in the UK Parliament, and I won't mention no names. A lot of politicians seem to have trans kids, and you look at Hollywood, a disproportionate amount of A-list celebrities have got trans kids. Some have got 2 or 3 trans kids. That's, for me, the parents pushing their kids into that way of life, that agenda.
Do you think they're doing that for money? You look at
No, I don't know.
Megan Fox, Robert De Niro.
For me, having a trans kid is like having, a fashion accessory. I think they think it puts their virtue and their morals out there, that they're such great people, such understanding and trendy people. But kids that are so-called trans or identify as trans are mentally ill kids. And the CAS report that come out basically proved most of them had mental issues or they were autistic. So instead of these doctors and teachers and that supporting these kids and trying to get them away from that way of thinking, the easiest thing is to say, you're trans. Yeah, you are trans. If someone's got bulimia, you don't carry on letting them do that. You don't encourage bulimia, do you? You tackle it at source. And I think that's what's happened with the trans. It's become a monster. Look, for less than 1% of the population, they're on our reality shows, they're on our magazines, they're everywhere. It's pushed. Someone is pushing us to think trans is good. Now, there are many trans people that are probably lovely people, but it's not normal. Trans is not normal. Don't try and normalise being trans.
Did you ever know about the Section 18 that was started in 1988? Maggie Thatcher.
No.
Well, her name was mentioned, but 1988, the Section 18 was to stop promoting homosexuality in schools in 1988. So we're living in the gayest generation as ever been. Why? Is it because it's getting promoted so much? I think it was under 2% of people are gay, but now we're over 4.5%. So it's doubled in the last 6 years. So people feel lonely, male and female kids at school, they just want to be part of something.
Yeah.
Like I say, whether you're gay and bisexual,
It don't bother me. Listen,
you be who you want to be. People can experiment, and it could be a phase that could come out at. Nobody's asked.
No.
It's once they start giving the fucking kids puberty blockers, and start
that's
fucking with their
abuse.
hormones.
That's
That's abuse where doctors should be going to
But
prison
let's
for
draw a
that.
distinction. Being gay and being trans is completely different.
Yeah.
There couldn't be a bigger gulf in that. And again, I wouldn't choose my kids to be gay, but if one of them turned to me and said, I'm gay, I will be their biggest protector. There's nothing wrong in being gay. Choose to be with who you want. But thinking that you can lob off body parts or drug kids or that to so-called change gender, that's abuse. And I think in maybe 20 or 30 years, we're going to look back at the last decade or the last 5 years and think what happened to humanity. And I blame a lot of these celebrities for pushing it and a lot of these MPs.
There was a lot of that in Germany. I believe that was the biggest place in the 30s and 40s when Hitler was there, of paedophilia and the burning of the books. Apparently the burning of the books was all through transgender and the drag queens and all that shit that he didn't want in the schools.
Right.
It's fucking weird. Whether that's true, I don't know. But again,
I'm not a big
historian,
history buff with that.
But apparently that was the worst place, Germany, and he got rid of it all.
I think there's an argument to say that this trans thing has been promoted and pushed on to damage to society, and I do think it is damaging society. It's taken away from family life, really, the traditional way of man and woman as kids, and then that goes down. Again, nothing wrong with being gay, but this whole trans agenda is sinister, and I think it's being placed in society to break us down and weaken us. But again, people have had enough now.
Yeah.
They really have, and thank God Trump's come in and he's pushed back on this.
Yeah.
So that means the West has got to push back on it.
Everything in life for me is family.
Mm.
I've got kids to different women. I wish it would have been under the same roof, but back in my 20s, I didn't care. I didn't fucking care. But now it's all family and try to give my kids a better opportunity to understand my mindset. I believe I'm well advanced to understand life and give them the tools and techniques to really thrive and do what they want. But taking away the family morals, taking away the tradition. Women aren't traditional anymore. Men aren't gentlemen. Men are becoming fucking softer. Women are becoming more masculine. So it's like a divide. Men and women need each other. Women are the salt of the earth. Women are the best. If I didn't say that, it's a discredit to my mum, my sister, my daughter. Men are just becoming a little fucking more fragile. They're saying they're poisoning the water, but it's turning men gay. I don't know. You can go down that rabbit hole.
No, I'll tell you what it is. And, well, this is my opinion. Social media and the internet has shown different ways to live. And as I say, the trans agenda is pushed. So it's everywhere. You can't watch a Big Brother or a reality show. They seem to have a trans person on there. Why? So I think there's a programming of slow destruction, but people are pushing back now. But imagine 2 years ago, I said anything about trans, which I didn't care. Absolutely pelted from normal people on there. You shouldn't be saying that. They're an oppressed group and all like this. But I think the internet has a lot to answer for, especially with paedophilia.
What do you think of Bonnie Blue?
I've met Bonnie Blue.
See, my issues is not with Bonnie Blue. My issues was with the 1,000 men waiting outside to fuck her. Like, that's perversion.
I've got two things here. I met her and I was sat round a table like we're sat there. I was waiting to go on GB News, and she was talking to one of the other guests, a girl, and I was fascinated by it. I quickly text my teenage boy when I'm sat here, just because I knew how he would react. But then I text my wife and I said, look, you wouldn't believe she's really well spoken, and I'm listening to the conversation. She's educated. You would never know if you weren't on the internet. That's what she did for a living. She was smart. She was attractive. You can't say she's ugly. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, what she does is filth. Disgusting. But these men, why a lot of these men, and again, stats and figures can't be racist, are black and brown skinned men. Majority of them. Why? Why is that? I don't understand that. But what she started doing recently is barely legal and all like that. I think she's playing on a bit of a paedophile angle, and I don't like it one bit. I don't like what she did before, but it weren't affecting me. But it's disgusting, isn't it? Imagine that's your daughter.
I don't know.
It wouldn't happen.
If
she wouldn't
it's
be
the 1,000 men's legit, though. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, I think it's impossible.
I don't know if it's all... She knows how to manipulate the masses. She's making millions per month. She's found a loophole and she's jumped on it. Like you say, she's a no bad looking bird, but she looks older than 25. I think she says she was only with like 5 people, 21, 22. So how she's went down fucking 1,000 dicks in the space of 24 hours is
But
is
all the
beyond
money
me.
in the world, if you said to me, Ad, I'll give you 20 million, but you've got to do this, this and this, I wouldn't do that, because I know the internet is forever. She cannot have a normal life where her kids look at her and don't see that. Money's not worth that for me. And unfortunately, I think it will have encouraged other girls to do this sort of stuff. I mean, look, I fight on Misfits. Half the girls are OnlyFans models. Never been on OnlyFans in my life. I can't understand why a man would pay to look at someone on OnlyFans when, if you want to go and look at that stuff, you just type it in Google. I don't understand it.
I think they want to be part of something, because I think 1/3 of men are virgins. So to be paying somebody and feel as if they've got a girlfriend, they're manipulating them. And the majority of the OnlyFans girls who are at top tier 1%, they're not even messaging these men back,
someone else.
but they're wanting the attention because they're lonely. So I've never done OnlyFans. I don't even watch porn anymore for many years, because now I know the destruction and it's quite filthy. But when you understand, like, it's not the girls, they wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for the perverts. But
Yeah.
if you're fucking shagging 1,000 men, paedophiles, rapists, bad people, that's destructive.
Well, there's a reason they put them
Masks
balaclavas
on. Yeah.
because they know it's shameful.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a dirty bastard to do that, and you know, it's different. Again, different cultures as well, and different sort of generations growing up don't see this as wrong.
Yeah.
And this whole Instagram way of life, you see these people selling FX and whatever on there because they've got a Ferrari. Kids are gullible. Kids don't want to. They don't want to work no more.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I could just set up a podcast like you. I could just go and do foreign X trading like him. I don't want to go and have to work for a living. It's not. At some point, the reality is going to hit. And at the minute, over the last 3 years, I think we've got a lot of youth that have been programmed that they don't have to work.
They're not looking after
COVID
themselves,
lockdowns gave people that were working a different perspective of life as well. Oh, actually, imagine I could do that and work from home. I could sit in the garden 3 times a week. I think we need to get back to that in schools. We need to program people to say you don't get anything in life for free. And if you want to go down the criminal route, that's a prison cell, 10 years if you do that. Or if you want to try and do them foreign X scams, or you want to do OnlyFans, no one's ever going to look at you in 10, 15 years time to get married because that's on the internet if you type in your name. I think we now need teachers to start programming kids to the reality.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is bad.
Kids need to stay strong, stay fit. And even the man who's working 9 to 5, whether it's the bus driver, the train driver, the postman, the guy who's out in the building site providing for his family, they're also winners. Social media can portray, if we're not in private planes or big cars, that we're life shit. I can guarantee that the wealthiest people I know, they're miserable because they're constantly chasing, they're constantly hustling.
I've got some friends that have got so much money that it brings problems.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to have that money. You know, we've just had half term. Half my mates were abroad, but I couldn't, not saying I couldn't afford, it weren't the right time for me to take my kids away last week. I've got bills and different things that I've got to pay. I would have loved to have been on a beach, you know, and then you're scrolling through Instagram and half your Instagram's in Dubai or in Spain and you think, what am I doing wrong here? But then you think about the people who look at people like me and you and think, I wished I had their life. So there's levels.
Yeah. But we've done amazing, man. You've done amazing. Like I say, from what you've overcome with through your dad, your life could have totally went.
Yeah.
You could. There's a good chance you might not have even been here yourself. You've picked it up. You've got the family life. You're a great father, great speaker, and everything that you speak about. Listen, I support that also, and I'll back that up.
Well, one thing I will say, I met my wife when I was 18. She was 16. I was 18. Met her in Mallorca. We lived in the same town. But how things are meant to be. So I didn't have a dad then, but I had her dad. He's become a second dad to me, John. Very straight, respectful man that would tell me when I'm wrong. I'll go, why have you done that? And I do not believe my wife. I'm not scared of anyone, you know that. But I am a little bit scared when she goes off on one. Like, because I know she's right. When she goes off, I know she's right. And if it wasn't for meeting her when I was 18, you're right, I don't think I would be here.
Yeah.
Or I would have gone the wrong path.
How important is it to have a good woman by your side?
Yeah. Yeah. And especially I had Nubar when I was 25, 26. And all, you know, you'd have paid free girls. You'd have all the sort of things that a 25-year-old would want. But she grounded me. She was like, well, you do that, you lose us. Or you do that, you're going to lose the business. You do that, you're going to get hurt. Sometimes you need that person next to you. And I believe life puts them people in your life for a reason. So you've got to take it when it's there.
How are you feeling today, brother?
I'm good, I'm all right.
We could talk for fucking days, brother, because we're on the kind of same page. Family morals, work hard, look after yourself, set new challenges and new tests. But for anybody watching, brother, that's maybe in a life of struggle right now, what advice would you have for them?
Don't look at other people and think you've got to keep up with them. As I said, half of social media is fake. These people have got rented cars or they're not happy. Live your life. If you've got good people in your life, don't push them away. As I said, my wife, very important figure in my life. My mum is a hugely important figure in my life. And, you know, if you've got kids, cherish them. because sometimes you lose track. You think, oh, I wish I had that Ferrari or whatever, and then you got 3 kids next year. Those people with a Ferrari haven't got that happy life and that. So there's levels. And look, if you get successful, I don't know. I'm in the media now. Is it going to last very long? I didn't come into this industry as a career, but if it goes on, it goes on. If it stops tomorrow, I've had a great run, and then I go back to just being a publican or have to do something else. But just don't try and keep up with the Joneses. That's my thing. Be yourself.
What's your social medias and stuff, brother?
Right. So my Twitter is EssexPR, Instagram Adam Brooks Media, and on TikTok I'm EssexPR UK. So look, hopefully I don't offend the people that log on. They're not look. People are not always going to agree with my stance and everything, but whatever I say on social media, I mean it. I'm not told what to say. I'm not paid what to say. You can't say that about a lot of others.
Good on you, brother. Like I say, nothing but respect for your massive follower. Wish you all the best for the future, brother. Hopefully you see you on Misfits again. Keep doing the great.
You going to get on?
Yeah, I need to lose a good 10 kilos, brother, before I get on, mate. But yeah, we give it a bash. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Thank you, mate.
Proud of you.
Cheers.